How's it going, guys? Five's back, Delinquent Velociraptor Media, and we are back with week 2, also round 2, of the PUCL Podcast TCG Standard Tournament. This week, my opponent was Basket, and he also agreed to let me record our matches. So we are back again with a little Metagross-GX action. And I'm excited for this. Last week wasn't exactly what we wanted to see with Volcanion. Hopefully this one goes better. So I was excited for this one. We had some scheduling issues, but we got there. And yeah, so we're gonna get a little more Metagross-GX action. This opening hand is sweet. I have the Alolan Vulpix to lead off with to go looking for more Pokemon. I have the Beldum to put on the bench. Excuse me. I have an Energy. I have an N. I was excited about this opening hand. No clue what basket was on when we started. The coin and the deck box don't really give anything away. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And then he flips Combi and two. Oh my goodness, Unknown. There we go. And I was both excited and concerned at that point. Vespiquen is a deck I very much like. I play Vespiquen in Standard and in Expanded. I almost played it for the tournament in a version with Garbodor. It is also a deck that is capable of doing a lot of damage. Rarely plays EXs or GXs, so you have to take the full 6 prizes. It's complicated, but he tells me he tells me he's playing a slightly different version, which I was intrigued by. So we bench another Beldum and go get ourselves a Metang and a Shaman for next turn. The beacon attack on Alolan Vulpix is just fantastic. No energy cost to just go get 2 Pokemon out of your hand, or out of your deck into your hand is incredible. I pass, and he actually just immediately B-revenges for 40, and that's it. And I'm like, okay, well that's interesting. I'm a little confused by that. So I go ahead, Metang, and I think I'm debating, and I do believe I end up dropping Bridget to go ahead and fill the bench up a little more. I could get a Magierna. I don't really see the point. I don't want to give him anything big to take prizes off of easily. So we go ahead and get down the rest of the Beldum in the deck, and then we can just go ahead and beacon for 2 more Metang and pass the turn back. He may, he can knock out Vulpix here, but we are well on our way to, 2 or 3 Metagross pretty quickly, and a Vespiquen deck that's not really doing what you expect it to. At several points during this first game, my discard pile has more cards in it than a Vespiquen deck does, which is very unusual. He basically just immediately takes the knockout on Alolan Vulpix, doesn't play anything, doesn't discard anything. And at that point, I'm curious about his build, I'm curious about what's going on. I do go ahead and drop a Metagross onto the active, drop 2 more Metang, and yeah, we have options. We have things to work with. I don't want to use Shaman yet, just because it would only draw me 2 cards. So I actually go ahead and use my GX attack on Metagross, which is Algorithm GX. Search your deck for 5 cards and put them into your hand. So let's see. What all do I end up getting? Looks like I get a Max Potion, 2 Metagross, and 2 Metal Energy. Vespiquen is a deck that deals a lot of damage, but won't necessarily be able to completely OHKO a 250 HP Metagross just straight up. So being able to Max Potion away, even if it costs me my energy, I can just bring them back. Geotech systems, Max Potion is a great card for this deck. I have never needed an in more in my life. I know that feeling. He has a ton of cards in hand. I have a ton of cards in hand that I've gone and gotten specifically that he doesn't want me to have. So I can see how he would be frustrated with that. But I'm perfectly content for him to not in us at all, and just to keep chugging along like we are. We're now up to 3 Metagross. Now we have no energy in the discard, so we can't Geotech systems. I think I just end up passing here because I really don't want to get rid of anything in my hand. There's only 2 energy, that I can really do anything with, so we're just going to pass. He's not done much of anything. He's got like 9 or 10 cards in hand. He does find a second Combi, and he has his second DCE. And then he just ends up B-Revenging again, which B-Revenge is 20 plus 10 more for each Pokemon in your discard. So Vespiquen, particularly in Expanded, just dumps a ton of stuff into their discard pile and hits you pretty hard. It's similar to Night March. It plays similarly. Actually, some people combine the two of them. But I do get my third energy on here and just go ahead and knock out the first Vespiquen, take my first prize. And now I'm going to be able to retreat out of the active because you can't use Giga Hammer twice in a row, and then just be able to Geotech systems 3 times to put more energy back from my discard after retreating back onto a Metagross in the active. He does Lysander up one of my Metagross and evolve into his second Vespiquen, hits me for 60. Doesn't really have a lot going, which is very unusual. I go ahead and drop the Float Stone onto that Metagross, and then retreat out. Because he Lysandered me up, I didn't have any energy on the one in the active to dump to the retreat, but I had the Float Stone in hand, thankfully, able to promote the one that did have the energy, take the knockout on the second Vespiquen, and that's game 1. That was a super fast game 1. I think it was like 5 minutes long, maybe. Not typically how Vespiquen plays, but I was super happy with how Metagross played in that game. That was basically exactly how I want the game to go. The only thing I might have changed was having something that would have let me put a couple of energy in the discard a little sooner, but it wasn't necessary, and I will totally take that. You don't so much argue with wins when you get them. And I mean, it wasn't like I just got donked or he got donked, turn 1. So yeah, we're back into game 2. Not, my favorite opening hand because I do only have the Alolan Vulpix, but if I'm going to start something, that's definitely what I want to start. And so hopefully we are able to pick up some more Pokemon pretty quickly. And if nothing else, you can just beacon for more. Just, you kind of have to hope you don't get knocked out on that following turn. So yeah, we're going to jump straight back into game 2 very quickly, see what Vespiquen has for us this time, see what Metagross is capable of doing. And he did have to mulligan one, so we do get to draw another card, which does get us the Beldum I was hoping to find. And he leads Eevee, which my assumption was going to be that he was playing Vaporeon and Flareon or Jolteon, the ones that allow you to deal specific types of damage. I think it allows all your stage 1 Pokemon are whatever the type of that Eevee is. So if you have the Flareon out, all your stage 1s can now deal fire damage. Same for Vaporeon, same for Jolteon with water and electric. So I assumed that's what the Eevee was for. I was mistaken. As you'll see, he actually attaches a dark energy and uses Eevee's ability to, when you attach an energy, if you have an Eevee of that type in your deck, you can evolve it. And I'm like, oh, Umbreon. Okay, Umbreon-GX is not something, A, I see a lot of, or B, I've ever seen with Vespiquen before, and I was definitely intrigued. It's an interesting Pokemon. I like Umbreon-GX a lot. Its GX attack is, I believe, Dark Call. It basically just takes 2 energy off of your opponent's Pokemon. So I go ahead and bridge it. I now have 4 Beldum up, which is fantastic. Super excited about that. I go ahead and Ultra Ball away the Rescue Stretcher and the VS Seeker. And I was going to get a Metagross because I do have the rare candy, but I decided to go ahead and get a Shaman because I'm empty-handed at this point and I can just get what I need with Vulpix. And I actually get a second rare candy and a Metagross, so I'm going to go ahead and Beacon here. And I believe I get a Metang and a Metagross. So now next turn, I'll have a Beldum, a Metang, and 2 Metagross if I don't get End or lose some of the cards from my hand, in or Delinquent or whatever. So this is Umbreon-GX. Strafe, which deals 30 damage and lets you switch out. And I believe it's Shadow Bullet, which deals 90 to the active and 30 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So I think this is basically his way of dealing some extra damage to try and soften things up for Vespiquen. which I like. I like that idea a lot. I think Umbreon's good. Being able to use its GX attack to remove energy can slow your opponent down, so I can definitely see doing that. And that is actually how he spent his attack last turn. He actually used the GX attack and removed the metal energy from my Beldum. So now I have one metal energy in my discard, which I'm fine with because I can just Geotech Systems it back. So I rare candy both of the Beldum into Metagross and put the Metang on a third one. And then I'm going to go get a Metagross, and I'm actually going to go ahead and get the Tapu Lele. Which I can use its ability to find a supporter, because I don't really have much supporter-wise in my hand. I don't really need Olympia to switch out, and I'm not even close to the energy I need to attack multiple times and use Pokemon Ranger to reset my ability to attack. So we're gonna Lele, maybe go get an in or something. He does knock out the Alolan Vulpix and put some damage counters on our Shaman. I promote a Metagross, draw a Metal Energy, go ahead and move up to a third Metagross, which is fantastic. Geotech Systems, unfortunately, there's only one energy in my discard. Go ahead and put it on the Metagross, and I don't remember what to do next. Okay, we're going to Ultra Ball and get rid of the Field Blower and the Olympia, and I go get another. I consider getting another Metagross. I think I just end up getting the Metang and dropping that on the Beldum, and then I drop Tapu Lele, and we will use its ability to go search for a supporter card. And what do we got? So I could get Lysander, don't really need it yet. Basically, I'm looking for draw support, either Sycamore or In. And I think that's why I got the Metang instead of the Metagross. I was intending to Sycamore, so I don't want to just discard that Metagross when I can keep it. I'd rather keep Pokemon Ranger around, but it gives me the option to VS Seeker it back later. Have the Floatstone, put it on Shaman, and actually I go ahead and use the Ultra Ball just to pitch the 2 Metal Energy into my discard so I can Geotech Systems them back with Metagross. The only thing I can get is a Magearna. I don't have any open bench space. I don't really want it. I just wanted rid of those 2 energy, so I can go ahead and Geotech Systems one of them back up onto the active. And because I've got the Choice Band, I'm going to do 180, which is not enough to knock out Umbreon. Umbreon does have 200 HP, but putting it at 180, I'm definitely fine with. I feel fairly comfortable. He does have a Vespiquen up on his bench that I think has at least 1 energy on it. But I've got 3 Metagross on. I've got 1 Metagross in the active, 2 on my bench, and a third, or the last one in my hand. So next turn I can potentially have 4 Metagross. He starts using Acrobike, which you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 into your hand, 1 into your discard pile. It's one way the standard versions of Vespiquen pitch cards into their discard pile, since they can't use Battle Compressor because it's only legal and expanded. He does find a Remoraid, so he looks like he's playing the Remoraid Octillery package for draw support. He goes ahead and Shadow Bullets, puts 90 on Metagross, and actually puts 30 on top of Lele. And I consider using the Max Potion, but I don't really see the point. I just go ahead and retreat out and start Geotech Systems my energy back onto the new active Metagross, so I can just go ahead and take a knockout on this Umbreon GX. I considered the Max Potion. I consider it off and on for a while, but he doesn't have a ton of Pokemon in his discard, and I want to keep it around in case I really, really need it. Metagross has 250 HP, so 90's not super dangerous. We take our 2 prizes from knocking out Umbreon, find the Vulpix, probably won't bench it. I don't have any open space right now, and I've got all my Metagross out. The only time I could see benching it would be maybe if I hit a Rescue Stretcher and put several things back. It would allow me to maybe rebuild a Metagross. So we'll keep it around. It's an option. But I do have 2 Max Potion, an In, and a Lysander, so I've got some good things to work with. He has the Vespiquen in the active, but he only has a Dark Energy on it. He doesn't have a DCE. So he's going to have to find another energy to be able to be Revenge, or Intelligence Gather, the first attack, which is what he does. It does 10 damage and allows you to draw until you have 6 cards in hand. So it does give Vespiquen some more digging power, find a few more things. So it's definitely an option if you only have 1 energy, or if you're just super short on resources, don't have enough Pokemon in your discard to really bother attacking, that kind of thing. Go ahead and retreat out with another Metagross. Geotech Systems up one of the benched ones. And Metagross is sort of a rinse and repeat deck. Metagross in the active, couple Metagross on the bench, attack, retreat, promote, refill, rinse and repeat. And I'm a huge fan of that. It's as long as you have multiple Metagross-GX out, it's super consistent. You can just chain through them to be able to constantly keep reattacking with Giga Hammer. So we take another prize, find another Metang. We have no available Beldum right now, but prize is a prize. Always good with that. So he has an Eevee. At that point, he had an Eevee, an Octillery, and a Combi. He does also find an Unknown. So he can definitely dig for some things. If he finds a Vespiquen and another DCE, then he can start taking knockouts. He does have a more solid number of Pokemon in his discard than he did in Game 1. But he just ends up having to pass. We draw Metal Energy, go ahead and attach it to the bench. And I'm going to go ahead and just not waste any time with this Combi and go ahead and Lysander it up. I don't want it to end up as a Vespiquen. I don't want to have to deal with that. So retreat, and time to start Geotech Systemsing again. I've got the Choice Band on Metagross. That doesn't always matter in Vespiquen, but it was in my hand. If you have cards you don't necessarily want to use, but you're trying to dig for things using N, go ahead and use them, even if you don't need them, because it's going to be less cards shuffled back in that you may redraw when you N. So if you're going to be drawing 6 cards off of N, you don't want to shuffle a bunch of things you don't want back into your deck and potentially draw them again. You want to be able to keep digging for the things you're looking for. And he's not playing Garbodor. I'm not worried about having too many items in my discard. So he is cycling through more Pokemon. He just has the Eevee and the Octillery currently. He just farewell lettered another Unknown away, which allows you to put the Unknown in your discard, draw a card. Doesn't give up any prizes. And we're gonna run it back. We're gonna Geotech Systems after we retreat, and I only need to take 2 more prizes. I feel pretty good at this point. I feel pretty good in terms of where we are. I felt really bad for Basket. I play a lot of Vespiquen, and it's hard to see the deck not function the way it's supposed to. Obviously, I want to win, but I want to see a deck I enjoy, run well. So not seeing Vespiquen really at its full potential is a little disappointing. We do find a Kukui, which is nice because we do have a Metagross with a Choice Band, so plus Kukui would give us the 200 damage to just straight up knock out an Umbreon GX. But he does have to go out into his Octillery as the active. I only need to take 1 more prize. He needs to take, I think, 5 at this point. So I feel pretty good. He does have a more decent number of Pokemon in his discard. I think he had 7 or 8 at that point. Ideally with Vespiquen, you want to be able to use your Acrobikes, your Professor Sycamores, your Ultra Balls to be constantly putting Pokemon in your discard, and you want to be in the 16 to 20 Pokemon in your discard range, because Be Revenge is 20 plus 10 for each. So if you have like 16 to 20, you're in the 180, 220 range, which knocks out a vast majority of the things in Standard. Obviously, you have things like Solgaleo, Lunala, things like that have 250 that you're going to have to work a little harder to knock out. But a lot of things have, even GXs have 180, 190, 200, which are very, very achievable numbers for Vespiquen decks. So yeah, we're just going to, on our next turn, sort of keep rinsing and repeating, retreating out. And that's what I love about Metagross. He has a 3 retreat cost, and you don't care, because you're just going to pitch those energy off of him when you retreat and then just start Geotech Systemsing them back onto the new active. It's fantastic. I know a lot of people, myself included, looked at this card when it was spoiled when we first started getting Guardians Rising spoilers. a lot of people looked at Metagross, and I'm one of them, and said, this is not great. 150 that you can't keep reattacking with is not amazing. Geotech systems on the surface, I can see, doesn't look amazing. An algorithm is good, but you look at some other cards that have better GX attacks. And here he actually just Basket goes ahead and concedes, because he doesn't find anything that's going to be able to let him get his artillery out that's not just going to immediately get knocked out next turn when I retreat out and start Giga Hammering again. So we actually take that match 2-0. So that puts us at 1-1 for the length of this tournament. Since we lost week 1 to Volcanion and won this week against Vespiquen, we are now 1-1. And I did get a little further clarification. It is actually just a 5-round Swiss tournament. So we have 3 rounds left to go, 1 round a week. Keep playing some more Metagross, and I will keep bringing these games to you guys if I do get to record them. So yeah, he is running the standard Flareon, Vaporeon, Jolteon package to deal super effective damage in some cases. He's also playing Teammates, which I like. If a Pokemon of yours is knocked out, you may search your deck for 2 cards, and I think I don't remember if it's put those cards in your hand or put those cards on top. Standard 4 DCE that you run in a Vespiquen deck. Several Dark Energy for the Umbreon. I like what he has going, and I like the idea of using Umbreon both with the other EVs to deal some solid damage and deal some bench damage to start softening things up to take knockouts with Vespiquen. I think there's a good theory there. I liked where he was headed with that. There's a lot of ways you can play Vespiquen. I mean, I tried playing it with Garbodor. That didn't maybe work quite as well as I had hoped, but you definitely have some options. So we'll take one more look at Metagross-GX, 250 HP, 150 damage off of its 3 energy attack, and the ability to bring energy back from the discard, and to go once a game look for just 5 cards you need out of your deck, which is fantastic if you're looking for energy, anything like that. We're going to go ahead and open up. I've got three account locked Guardians Rising packs. We're going to crack those open real quick, see what we can get before we close out this video. So we're going to get we're not going to get much there. We're going to get a Nose Pass and a Gothorita. And Gothitail? Gothorita? I don't remember which. We do get a Reverse Field Blower here, which is sweet. And then a Swellow. And in the final pack, what will we open? And we get another Nose Pass, but we actually get a Ninetales GX, which I'm excited about. I like this card a lot. I'm tinkering around with some water ideas, including using what is Whale Lord, the non-EX Whale Lord that just has way too much HP and doesn't take damage. So maybe slot Ninetales into that. We appreciate you guys joining us. Delinquent Velociraptor Media for your Pokemon TCG and Magic the Gathering video interests. We do standard, we do expanded, we do modern. Check us out, like, comment, and subscribe. Have a great day.